Killing it over here.
All
Killing
right,
it.
we are
Killing it.
back, and there he is, everybody. Former Buckeye
Yeah,
Maurice Hall, I
that's
believe
right.
Brookhaven, if I'm not
That's right,
mistaken.
baby. You
Yeah,
got it. You got it.
Brookhaven's finest
Right
with
out of
us, man.
Columbus. That's right. That's right.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us. You are a West Coast man. Look at that sunshine in this picture
I
right here.
know.
Is that a
I know,
palm tree
right?
I see over your right
I
shoulder?
mean, I was just trying to get the best view, guys. Just trying to give you the best view. It's definitely about 75 degrees here today, so nice and sunny. It hasn't been like that the last couple weeks, though. It has been raining, so I'm excited about today. So trying to be
Very,
outside.
very good. Right off the bat, Ryan Wickerham says, "Hey man, what up, my bro?"
Big Ryan, what's up, man?
All right, let's start here with the interview today, Maurice. We're going to get into a whole lot, but I want to know how does did we
We
lose him?
lost Maurice.
He is coming from the West Coast. Let's give him a second to jump back on here with us, guys. So get those questions ready for Maurice. That seemed like a really good connection. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
it was working well. So we'll give him a minute to jump back on, and hopefully it will stay connected and we won't have any issues with that. But we want to talk to Maurice about his time after football. Here we
Yes.
go. We're going to add him back here. Give me 1 second. We'll add you back, Maurice, to the video. There we go, and we got
Oh,
you
he's
back.
back.
All
Perfect.
right,
Sorry, guys.
no
I'm over
problem,
here
no problem.
touching stuff. Yeah.
All right, Maurice, tell us give me your recruiting story. Because I'm
Mm,
so interested to find out a little bit more based off of the trailer you sent me. That's a tease for all of you to hang around for what
yeah, yeah,
Maurice is going to
yeah.
talk
Yes.
about. How did you end
Yeah.
up from Brookhaven to Seabus and that transition from being basically a Central Ohio high school all star to being
Yeah.
at Ohio State, my man?
So I was actually born in Miami, Florida. So parents were both from Memphis, Tennessee. So when I lived in Miami, I lived there probably until I was 4 or 5. But during that time, I remember my dad. There was a couple things. My dad, he took me to Miami Dolphins practices, which is why I'm a Dolphins fan to this day. And I was a big Hurricane and Florida State fan because during that time it was like Dion was there, then it was like Charlie Ward, and then as I continued to grow up, it was Ward Dunn and Peter Warwick and all of those guys at Florida State, and then we moved back to Memphis for about a year, and then my mom and my dad wanted to change their environment, and we moved from Memphis, Tennessee to Ohio. Started in Springfield, so I actually lived in Springfield for a year, and then my dad got a job in Columbus, and we ended up moving from Springfield up to Columbus when I was about 9 or 10 in fourth grade, and from there it was all Columbus, and that's when I really started hearing about Ohio State. I didn't know anything about Ohio State up until that point, and really never consider, I always know I wanted to play football. I always knew I wanted to go to college and play at a big time school, but Ohio State never even crossed my mind. Even though as I grew up, I was seeing guys like, your Joey Galloways and your David Bostons and Terry Glenn's and all those people, and saw how good they were. But, it just never, I was always like, I'm going to Florida State. And as you continue to grow, especially being from in Columbus, everybody you talk to, once you start getting recruited, is like Ohio State is the place, right? That's just what it was. So I started looking at Ohio State more, and then obviously started getting recruited by Coach Cooper. I would always be at the facility. Obviously, I went to the camps and things like that, and got a chance to see what Ohio State was all about. And I think if anybody goes on that campus, you can't help but say, okay, this is somewhere I should definitely consider. And as I just continued to go, and I was more comfortable, and took all my recruiting visits. Went to Florida State on a recruiting visit. Went to Northwestern. Went to Georgia Tech simply because I just wanted to go to Atlanta. I was like, We got to figure that out. Went to Penn State, and then went to Ohio State as well. So at the end of the day, it came down to my parents and wanting them to see me play. They had seen me play football, since I started, and never missed a game. And I knew flying all the way to Florida was going to be a tough road for them to be able to watch me in person. So stayed home, and had some success. Obviously, won a national championship during that amazing season of 2002, and then kind of moved forward from there with my next career, which was the entertainment business. So
Yeah. All right, we got a question here from Paul. I'm going to throw it up for you, and then
okay,
after Maurice, after you answer this question from Paul, Chris, I'll let you ask the next one. Paul says, "We appreciate you, Maurice. What is your favorite memory as a Buckeye, and who was your favorite coach during your career?"
okay. So I mean, there's a lot of great moments. I think the biggest moment was I mean, I think okay. So I'm going to say the what people probably expect me to say is scoring the game-winning touchdown against Michigan. So that
Right.
was a huge moment. Absolutely. I think the other moment was really the national championship game and the moment that C. Grant um, tackled Ken Dorsey. We saw the pass was incomplete. It was like it was just one. It was almost not real. It felt like a dream because we had been preparing that whole year, and obviously getting to that game, no one gave us a chance to win it, and I feel like we were the only ones that believed we could win that game, and we were so focused, we were ready, and it happened. Against I still agree. I still agree. Is arguably the best team to ever be on the football field with the University of Miami and the players they had during that time. So I would say that's probably my greatest memory because it just felt like it was a team effort. We all came together when somebody went down, somebody else stepped up, and it was like that the entire season, and it worked out for us. So it was like one of those things where people always tell you if you do this, you can accomplish this, and that's exactly what happened. So I would say that was my favorite memory. As far as my favorite coach, Coach Tressel, 100%. And I'd say that because obviously I would have liked to play more under Coach Tressel, but the person of who Coach Tressel was to his players and is to his players, um, undoubtedly, you know, second to none. I've had coaches that for them it was all about football. It's like what he used to say: school first, football second. So we knew exactly what he meant. And there were coaches, but Coach Tressel really showed that he cared about us outside of football, and it was really football was a stepping stone to who we really were going to be as people and as men. And I think he still models that to this day. So Coach Tressel was definitely my favorite coach.
Okay, Maurice, I just got out. Now I'm gonna have to change my question a little bit because Paul stole a little of my thunder there. That's okay.
Uh oh.
That's okay. So, obviously we're a national champion. You scored the
Mm,
winning touchdown in overtime versus Illinois in that 2002 season.
yeah,
You
yeah.
had a great game against Minnesota, 14 carries, 94
Yeah.
yards, a touchdown, or 93 yards and a
Hmm.
touchdown. And as you mentioned, that game-winning TD versus that team up north,
Yes,
the
sir.
Fiesta Bowl. Was there a point where you guys, as a team, just knew there is something magical about what is happening here?
Yeah,
Just
I would.
that
Yeah,
season.
100%. So, and I would say that moment came when Mike Doss announced he was coming back to school because he wanted to win a national championship. And I think everybody kind of looked at each other and was like, first of all, Doss, just want to remind you of we were just 7-5. We have the same players. We still have a new coach. Like, what are you talking about? Win a national championship? And when he came and talked to the team after that press conference, he said, "I really believe we can win it all. And the past doesn't matter. What are we willing to do today?" And I really feel like at that moment, the seniors bought in. I feel like the coaches bought in, and it was a trickle down effect for the whole team. And after that, we started operating as we were essentially the University of Miami. We were operating like we were the champions already. So, when we went to the gym, we went to the weight room, when we ran sprints, when we practiced, everything was national championship mindset. And I felt, and as you saw, we had so many close games that year. It was crazy. Cincinnati, who would have thought Cincinnati would have been that close to us? And, but everybody played, the best game that they could have played against us. And we were like Ali, man. We took the punches, but at the end, we end up, having a KO at the end. And that was just a testament to the perseverance we had, to the experience we had as well of playing in some games where we might not have pulled them out, but we understood what it looked like. And I think that kind of took us to from game to game to game. And obviously this was a long season. At that time no one was playing 14 games.
Right.
Right.
Um, so so it was a long season for us. We started early. I think we started in August, in the like a Pigskin Classic or something. And you know, but we made sure that we did everything we could.
Here's a question from Larry Daniels for you, Maurice. He says, "Who was your favorite teammate?"
Favorite teammate.
Yes.
I said that's a hard one, man. Because I've played with some really great people. I mean, it's hard to say. I guess it depends on what we're talking about, right? So I would say, man, Troy Smith, maybe. Um, I'll give my top three: Troy Smith, Ted Ginn Jr., um, Maurice Claret. And let me give you the three reasons why. Right, Troy Smith. I remember Troy. When Troy was on his recruiting visit, I was a freshman, and he was still in high school, I believe. And I remember his host for the recruiting visit brought him to my dorm room, and we were just sitting there playing video games and talking. And he kept talking about how the coaches kept telling him they wanted him to play defensive back. They were recruiting him, but they weren't really recruiting him as a quarterback. And he was like, "I'm going to play quarterback here. I'm going to play quarterback." And everybody kept saying, "Oh, they were like almost teasing him. No, you're going to play DB. Like, let's just let it go and forget the quarterback thing. You're going to play defensive back." And he was like, "I'm going to play quarterback." Fast forward his freshman year there, he comes in with Justin Zwick, who at the time, Justin Zwick, I think he was like number one quarterback in the country,
Mhm.
right? So,
How did you transition from a successful football career to a successful Hollywood actor and producer? Was this always your
Mhm.
dream since childhood, or did an event happen during college to steer you in that direction? What are you working on? And we will and what are you working on that we will see soon? Go Bucks.
yeah. So, that's a nice question. So I'm not gonna lie to you. After football ended, that was a rough time for me. Just because even though I was a 4.0 student in high school, 3.67 student in college. The goal was to go to the league, so that's just what it was. And as much as people told you, hey, you should have something to fall back on, or, should be doing these internships, or you should be doing, I was a smart guy, but at the end of the day, I was like, I'm good. And of course, I had surgery on both of my knees, which affected me in college, and still got an opportunity with the San Diego Chargers, and that was more like a coffee break. And from there, it was a matter of, trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. Now, thankfully, Gene Smith actually gave me an opportunity to work as a assistant to the athletic director while I got my master's. During that time, that's when I kind of was exploring. Okay, what am I going to be a athletic director? At the time, I was like, I'm going to be an athletic director because I see just making $800,000, and that's what I want to make. Let's do it. And then I realized that you got to kind of have a passion for something like that, because every athletic director doesn't make that kind of money.
Right.
They wanted me to kind of go and start from scratch in the at the smaller schools, and I was like, that's unless you got a passion for it, this isn't it. And at the same time, I was working at NBC affiliate in Columbus as like a sports analyst, covering Ohio State, covering high school sports. And during that time, we started doing skits to kind of help with ratings, versus your standard like just reporting. And during those skits, I would just make up different things, and they end up going really well and getting us really good ratings. And then I had fun with it. And I remember when I got into acting, how I got into acting was actually I was doing a live shot. No, my first live shot. Anybody know what a live shot is? They say, "Hey, Maurice is on the field. Let's throw it out to Maurice. How's it going out there?" And I said, "Oh, everything's going great. Thanks. Back to you." That was my live shot. It was the
Great.
absolute worst in history. And someone that I knew saw it, and he said, "Hey man, you should try to take an acting class to help with the live shots, because it's different than like being interviewed where I'm like, I've been talking to people for the last 8 years when I was getting recruited, and now at Ohio State I've been doing interviews, post-game interviews, all, but he's like, it's totally different when you're just talking to a camera."
Right.
And that's when I realized, after taking that first acting class, I was like, this is it. This is the next thing for me. And I prayed about it and asked God to figure out how to get me to LA. And I was able to get here with the job, and it kind of went from there, man. But it hasn't been an easy process. At the same time, I moved out here in 2009. I didn't book my first acting job until 2013. So I had 89 auditions. So an audition is basically interviews in the acting world. So I had 89 interviews, 89 no's, until I got my first acting job on the Mindy Project, which was on Fox at the time, in 2013. So but my mindset was always football focused, essentially. And I think that's probably the biggest thing I learned from football was, as a running back, if you look at a football play, every play is designed to be a touchdown, right? So every offensive play is designed to be a touchdown, but 99% of the time it's 2 yards, maybe an 8 yard gain, maybe a tackle for loss. But eventually, if you just keep playing, eventually one of those plays is going to work where you're going to break that long one, right? And that's kind of how I looked at the audition process and the work as an actor, because there's so many people out here that are actors, that are great actors, and that are getting opportunities. But if the only reason you won't get an opportunity is if you quit, man. If you just say, you know what, I'm done. And fortunately enough, I was able to book that in 2013, and since then I've been able to consistently work all the way up until now, where May 7th, NTIS Los Angeles that'll be the next thing you'll see me on. That it's the series it's the series it's the series finale
Mhm.
of the show. So this is the last season of the show. I'm in episode 19 out of 21, and check me out on there. Can't give you any spoilers, but you'll see me on there. There's another movie coming out, I believe on Paramount Plus, hopefully this year, called Pet Detectives, that I end up shooting in Clearwater, Florida, as a police chief. And then I have my own movie that I'm also a writer and a producer myself. So I wrote my own movie, which is actually about my parents' life, overcoming drug addiction and overcoming, the environment that they grew up in to find God and make a better life for their kids, i.e., me and my siblings. But basically, the message is it's never too late, regardless of the decisions you make. It's never too late to change your life and your children's life. So that's how I always look at it. And people look at me and say, "Oh man, he's done so many great things," but it was literally because my parents made that one decision to do something different. And if they hadn't, who knows where I would be, or if I would ever got an opportunity to play football, to act, to write, to any of this stuff. But it's all about the decisions we make and how it's never too late. So that's it's called Harvest. We have a trailer for it, and now we're working to make the feature film, which is going to be called The Seed. And we've got some great actors that are attached to it. Which are Mary J. Blige's and Russell Hornsby and Michael Rainey Jr.'s and some great actors that really want to help show this part of the story and how redemption is a big thing in all of our lives. So that's where we are, and that's what I'm working on, and excited to keep working and make some things happen.
That is that is awesome. That is awesome. By the way, that
Thanks,
question
man.
came from Mike Wargo, our buddy Mike Wargo from Pittsburgh.
My
Asked that question. Yeah, the Rudy of Ohio State
nice.
football. I always call him that. Um, so I gotta tell you, Maurice, I watched the trailer you sent me, and I'm in love with this thing, man. Like I think it,
Thanks,
you
man.
got some great actors and actresses. Obviously, that's always important just for name recognition. But the
Absolutely.
what I saw in the trailer was high quality. Like this is high level stuff, man. Like this isn't some like
Yeah, man.
what Chris and I would do in our backyard with a camcorder here. Like this is real stuff.
Right,
We're gonna
right.
share that trailer on our Facebook page for everybody to check that out. When
Appreciate that.
are we hoping to know more about when it will be available and when we could be able to maybe see this thing? Is it going to be in theaters? Is it going to go to a streaming service? Do we have any of that yet?
Yeah, not yet. Right now, we're working on marketing. We do
Okay.
have some distributors interested. So it's just a matter of what makes the most sense, and in order to turn it into the feature that we really want. And from there, we've been talking to obviously your major streaming services, and outside of the theaters as well. The goal is to take it to theaters, and then from there take it to a streaming service, to host it. After that. So that's the thought behind it. And I'm just ready to do a premiere in Columbus. I want you guys to come, and we can make that happen.
Hey, I'm
Oh,
all in, Chris.
absolutely,
The
absolutely.
OHIO podcast will be there. I'll even wear my
All right.
tuxedo shirt for that, Maurice.
Oh, please don't.
I got, I got, I,
Yes.
I've
Yes.
got to, I got to ask this. I know it's 9 o'clock, and we got to wrap this up. But I want to get you and Mike Wargo together so that you can produce Mike Wargo, Ohio State's Rudy story. We got to have one.
That sounds good to me.
I think it would be
Let's go,
great.
Mike. Where you at,
You
baby?
you've got the connections. You can get into the horseshoe. Any movie that would have the horseshoe in it would make bank.
Right.
You know it. I mean,
For
and
sure.
plus
For
would make
sure.
all the Notre Dame fans mad, right? Which would be great.
That's a bonus.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I
That's a
think it would be
bonus. The funny
awesome.
part is I just worked with Sean Astin. So Sean
Oh
Astin
yeah.
played Rudy,
Yeah.
right? So I just worked with him on this movie that we shot in Clearwater, and it was so funny to just catch up and talk to him because that's a classic movie. And when he learned I went to Ohio State and played there, he was very excited to talk. So it was fun.
That's awesome. Wargo, a Buckeye Rudy story. I mean, it writes itself.
Done. Let's go.
And by the way, I think Wargo's all about this because he said, and his comment was, I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in. Wargo's in. He gets some
Well, there we
royalties on
go.
that.
Did you see
I love
Wargo's next comment, Eric?
Yeah. Can Kirsten Dunst
Kirsten
co-star?
Dunst co-star.
The question is
We have to
who would we
work
get
on
to
that.
play
It's gonna
Mike?
take a little more money.
That's Mike Wargo. Who can we get to play Mike Wargo in the movie? That would
That's
be good.
hilarious.
John Cooper. I mean, who would we get to play John Cooper? That would be.
I got a great idea
I
for a
know.
couple of sportscasters, Eric.
Well, I think you and I.
Oh
could
yeah,
do that.
y'all in?
Yeah, I mean,
Take it.
Down by the river or down by the banks of the old Ntangi. Like do a little Keith Jackson, do a younger Keith Jackson.
You got him.
All
You
right,
got him
guys.
down.
Hey, Maurice, this was so awesome having you a part of our podcast today.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Really appreciate it. I thank you so much for what you do. I know you're out there, man, and I'm at all that God has blessed you the way He has. I know there's a lot of weird stuff
Absolutely.
out there in LA, and you're holding down the fort for
This is
God,
true.
man. And I appreciate that.
Definitely.
I really do. And thank you
Yeah.
so much for being the kind of man to allow God to motivate you and encourage you to make such a great story of your parents. I just think that's amazing.
Hey, I
man.
appreciate it, man. Yeah,
All right.
definitely. No, I appreciate you guys.
All right, guys, that is our show for tonight. Thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate each and every single one of you. Remember, guys, always be kind to one another. I owe someone's OH. It's in Carmen, Ohio with all your heart. And until next time, OH!
I
I
Go Bucks.